हेलो वेलकम स्टूडेंट्स। हम वीडियो बना रहे हैं बहुत दिनों के बाद, इसके लिए हम सॉरी। आज हम पढ़ेंगे क्लास 8 का द बेस्ट क्रिसमस पेरेंट्स इन द वर्ल्ड। बिफोर यू रीड, देयर आर सम डेट्स ऑफ पीरियड्स ऑफ टाइम in the history of the world that are so signified that everyone known and remember. Then the story you will read mention one such date and invite a war between the British and the German in 1914. Can you guess which war it was? Do you know which event the dates below refer to? 4 July 1776, 17 December 1903, 6 August 1945, 30 January 1948, 12 April 1961, 20 July 1969. The answer are पेज नंबर 23। आपको इस सब्जेक्ट के आंसर मिल जाएंगे पेज नंबर 23 में। पार्ट 1, I support it in a junk shop in Burport, a roll-top desk. The man said it was early 19th century and oak. I had wanted one, but they were far too expensive. This one was in a bad condition. The roll-top in several pieces. One leg consumed, maddened, search mark all down one side. It was going for very little money. I thought I could restore it. It would be a risk, a challenge, but I had to have it. I paid the man and brought it back to my workroom at the back of the greens. I began work on it on Christmas Eve. I removed the roll top completely and pulled out the drawer. The winner had refunded almost everyone it. दोस्तों, ये है कुछ वर्ड मीनिंग्स और यहाँ पर भी हैं कुछ वर्ड मीनिंग्स जो आप लोग यहाँ पर देख पा रहे होंगे। Looked like water damage to me. Both fire and water had clearly taken their toll on this desk. The last drawer was shrunk fast. I tried all I could to ease it was gently. In the end, I used but force. It shrunk it rapidly with the side of my fist, and the drawer flew open to reveal a slope space underneath a secret drawer. दोस्तों और स्टूडेंट्स, अभी हम हैं सीक्रेट ड्रॉवर पर जो है अंडरनीथ सीक्रेट ड्रॉवर. देयर वॉज समथिंग इन देयर. आई रीच्ड इन एंड टुक आउट ए स्मॉल बैग टिन बॉक्स स्लोप टैप्ड to the top of it was a piece of lined notepaper and writing on it. It shakily handwriting. James' last letter, received January 25, 1915, to be burned with me when the time comes. I knew as I did it that it was wrong to me. Open the box, but constantly got the better of my expenses. It usually does. Inside the box there was an envelope. The address reads Mr. James McCumson's 12 Coppers Beach, Birdport. Thus I took out the letter and unfolded it. It was written in pencil and date at the top, December 26, 1914. Students, हम ये कॉम्प्रिहेंशन चेक हम पार्ट 2 में डिसाइड करेंगे कि और ये पार्ट 1 चल रहा है. डेट्स का I write to you in a match hyper frame to mind because something wonderful have just happened that I must tell you about. At once we were all standing to in our teacher's yesterday morning, Christmas morning. It was Christmas and quite all about as beautiful a morning as I have ever seen, as cold and frosty as a Christmas morning should be. I should like to be able to tell you that we began it, but the trust I am to say it is that begin first begin it. First, someone saw a white flag waving from the trees opposite. Then they were calling out to us from across no man's land. Happy Christmas, Tommy! Happy Christmas! When he had got over the surprise, some of us shouted back, "Same to you, Frizz, same to you." I thought we all did, but then suddenly one of them was up there in his greatcoat and waving a flag. "Don't shoot, let's," someone shouted, and no one did. Then there was another frised up on it, pretends, and another, "Keep your hand down." I told the man it's a trunk, but it was not. और देखिए दोस्तों कि यहाँ पर डबल पेज था, इसीलिए मैंने वहाँ पर उसको साइलेंट कर दिया, यानी उसको कैंसिल कर दिया. वन ऑफ द जर्मन्स वॉज हैविंग ए बॉटल above his head. "It is Christmas Day, Tommy. We have sponges, we have sagars, we meet you." Yes. By this time there were dozens of them walking toward us across no man land, and not a rifle between them. Little Private Morris was the first up. "Come on, boy. What are we waiting for?" And then there was no stopping them. I was the officer. I should have stopped them there and then, I suppose. But the truth is that it never even occurred to me. I should. All along their line and others I could see me walking slowly toward one another, grey coast, Khan coast, meeting in the middle, and I was one of them. I was part of this. In the middle of the war we were making peace. You cannot imagine, James Collins, my feeling as I looked into the eyes of the British officer who approached me and ostrich heaven wolf. He said, "Grips my head warmly and holding it. I am from distance. I play the sill in the ostrich. Happy Christmas." "Captain Jim Michelson," I replied, "and Happy Christmas to you too. I am a school teacher from distance sorry in the west of England." As he smiled, "I know this piece. I know it very well. We said my rum national and is his excellent swing, and we talked quite how we talked. He supposed almost perfect English, but it turned out that we had never set foot in Russians, never even been to England. We have learned all we knew in England from school and from reading books in English. His favorite writing was Thomas Henry. His favorite book, far from the maiden Covent. So out there is no man's land. We talked of Brussels and Gably Oak and Stinging Trony and desist. He had a wife and one son born just 6 months ago. As I looked about me, there were handless of khaki and grey everywhere, all over no man's land. Smoking, laughing, talking, drinking, eating. Heaven, Wolf and I shared that we was Wolf and I shared what we left of your wonderful Christmas cake. When he thought the measurements was the best he had ever tasted, I agreed. He agreed about everything. The and he was my enemy. There never was a Christmas party like it, Connie. Then someone I did not know who brought out a football. Great coast were dumped in pits to make goalposts, and the next thing we knew, it was Tommy against Frizzy out in the middle of no man's land. Hence, Wolf I looked on and cheered, chapping our hands and stamping our feet to keep out the cold as much as anything. There was a moment when I noticed our breath meaning in the air between us. He saw it too. I think this is how we should resolve this. Where a football match, no one dies in a football match, no children are officers, no wives become window. I did perfect cricket, I told him. Then we Tommies could be sure of winning. Problem. We laughed at that, and together we watched the game. Sad to say, Colin Pleasant won 2 goals to 1, but as Hans Wolf Guslis said, our goal was right then theirs, so it was not quite fair. The time came, and all too soon, when the game was finished, the sponsors and the rum and the swing long signs ran out, and we knew it was all over. I wished Hans well and told him I hoped he would see his family again soon. That fight would end and he could all go home. I think that it what every soldier want on both sides. Hans Wolf said, "Take care, Jam Missions. I shall never forget this movement, nor you." He saw and walked away from me slowly, uncling I fit. He turned to have just once and then become one of the hundreds of grey coast me wind back toward their treasures. That night back in our dens, he had them singing a growl and singing it quite beautifully. It was still night's silent night. Our boys give them a listening cheers from for a while, and then we all fell silent. We had स्टूडेंट्स, आपने यहाँ पे ध्यान दिया होगा कि यहाँ पर 2 ठो हेड बताया जा रहा है. Our time of peace and goodwill, a time I will treasure as long as I live. Dreams comes by Christmas time next year. This war will be noticed, but a distance and tribal memory. I know from all that happened today how which both Hermans long for peace. We shall be together again soon. I am sure of it. स्टूडेंट्स, हम क्वेश्चन आंसर नेक्स्ट पार्ट में डिस्कस करेंगे. Part 3. I fold the letter again and slipped it carefully back into its envelopes. I kept awake all night. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I drove into Budport just a few miles away. I asked a boy walking his dogs. Budport, just a few beaches, was house number 12 turned but to be noting, but a burned out cell, the roof gaping, the windows. स्टूडेंट्स, अभी हम यहाँ पर हैं गैपिंग द विंडोज पर. Boarded up, I knocked at the house next door and asked if anyone knew the whereabouts of a Mrs. Murchif. Oh, yes, said the old man in his slippers. He known her well. A lovely old lady, he told me, a bit middle-handed. But at her age she was attended to be, was not she 101 year old. She had been in the house when it caught fire. No one really knew how the fire had started, but it could have been candles. She used candles rather than electricity because she always thought electricity was too expensive. The fireman had got her out just in time. She was in a nursing home now, he told me. Blessing house on the Dawson's Road on the other side of town. I found Brittle's house nursing home easily. Once there were paper chains up in the hallway, and a lighted Christmas tree stood in the corner with a low-pressed angle on top. I said I was a friend come to visit Mr. Pearson to burning her a Christmas present. I could see through into the dining room where everyone was wearing a paper hat and singing. The Martians had a hat on too and seemed happy enough to see me. She even offered me a message pie. She walked me along the corridor. Mrs. is not in with the others, she told me. She rather confident today, we thought it best if she had a good rest. She has no family, you know. No, one visit, I am sure she will be only too pleased to see you. She took me into a conference with weekly chairs, a potted plant of around, and left me. The old lady was sitting in a wheelchair, her hands folded in her laps. She had silver with hair netted into a visible bun. She was gazing out at the garden. Hello, I said. She turned and looked up at me, whistling Happy Christmas, Connie. I want on. I found this. I think it's yours. As I was speaking, her eyes never left my face. I opened the tin box and gave it to her. That was the moment her eyes lit up with recognition. and her face became surfaced with a sudden glow of happiness. I explained about the text, about how I had found it, but I did not think she was listening for a while. She said, noting but strong the letter gently with her fingertips. Suddenly she reached out and took my hand. Her eyes were filled with tears. You told me you did come home by Christmas, didn't she said, and her you are the best Christmas present in the world. Come closer, Jim dear. Sit down. I sat down beside her. She kissed my cheek. I read your letters so often, Jim. Every day I want to hear your voice in my head. It always made my me feel you were with me, and now you are known. You are back of you can read it to me yourself. Would you do that for me? James dear, I just want to hear your voice again. I did love that so much. And the previous, well, you have some tea. I have made you a nice Christmas cake, middle or around. I know how much you love missions. Students, थैंक फॉर वॉचिंग. हम मिलते हैं पार्ट 2 में, जिसमें हम कुछ डिस्कस करेंगे. थैंक यू.